Hello and welcome back to the fifth lesson of Carry the Fire. Last week we talked about training as a way of life. You've been taking your cold showers, you've been exercising, and I hope that these practices have been illuminating in some way. Every time you get into the cold, even though you don't want to, you're training a rare and powerful ability. The ability to act in defiance of comfort, to keep your word, to be who you said you would be. And that ability to act when you don't feel like it is really the ultimate superpower. Each time you step in the cold water, you're training your capacity to do the hardest part of almost any task, which is starting. You'll find this over and over again in life, whether with workouts, studying for tests, or getting off the couch to read a book to your kids before bed. Starting is going to be the hardest part. Once you start, you're in it. Your physiological state changes, your resistance drops. What felt overwhelming seconds earlier could feel manageable or even pleasurable. Like you could enjoy what you're doing once you get moving. You just got to get started. The hardest part is overcoming that initial inertia, which is why the Derek Sivers line is so true. If more information were the answer, we'd all be millionaires with perfect abs. We know what to do. All right, knowing more could help us fine-tune some things, but action's the secret. And willing yourself into cold water is a great way to train that capacity. So recommit yourself to 6 days per week of 2 minutes or more. This is only going to be for a little while longer. Training your body, however, is going to be something we do forever. Remember that consistency matters most. There are a ton of ways to train, so if you've been struggling to get into your training, I encourage you to keep learning and trying other things. Through these two disciplines, you may also be noticing something unsettling but important. You have two minds. When you're planning who you're going to be and what you're going to do, motivation is very high. Thinking about the work feels good. Imagining the transformation feels exciting. But then you show up to actually do the thing, and suddenly you don't feel like it. Your mind starts generating excuses like, I'm congested, maybe I should skip the cold shower, or I'll do it later tonight. Or you may even ask, what's the point of all this anyway? Deep down you know what you should do, but knowing is not enough. You have to train your ability to act as your best self would want to act. You have to train yourself not to give in to the voice in your head that's pleading for comfort. And this split self is ancient. In pop culture, it's the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. For our purposes, we're going to call it what it is. It's your inner wimp. It's always going to be that part of you that rationalizes breaking promises to yourself. That part that wants to keep you smaller, safer, and more comfortable. But every time you act in defiance of that, you strengthen something deeper. You train your will. You live with greater arte. And over time, this will absolutely make you a happier, more alive person. This is also how real confidence is built. Confidence does not come from pep talks or affirmations. It doesn't come from lying to yourself in the mirror. It comes from looking discomfort in the face and acting anyway. This is how you grow confidence that you will be capable of meeting the moment. Act anyway. Do the hard thing. And you do that enough times in a row, and then you begin to respect yourself. So the practice is simple. Stop having the conversation. You're not here to negotiate with yourself. Just go. You can't think your way into a new way of being. Action is the answer. Every action is going to reshape your identity. And over time, you trust yourself more and more. Not because you feel different, but because you are different. As James Clear put it, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. And when you mess up, and you will, don't be too hard on yourself. Don't have a conversation with yourself. Just stop and recommit. If it happens again, don't chastise yourself. The answer is always the same. Recognize your mistake, adjust your strategy if you need, and then start acting again. And over time, this changes who you are. You become the guy who acts. This is also why rites of passage matter so much, because they force real action, they provide real feedback, and they compress growth. A single decisive action can permanently change what you believe about yourself and what you think is possible for yourself. Real education requires leaving your head. Too many people spin their wheels analyzing and waiting for clarity, but clarity comes after action, not before it. We live in a culture that's obsessed with breakthroughs. People are chasing insights and feelings, thinking they're going to finally unlock motivation. But they won't, because you're a different person when you're planning than when you're doing. When you show up to act, your inner wimp hires a team of lawyers to stop you. You're not here to debate with that team. Do the dang thing. Little by little, this rewires who you are. And that is what the science of willpower shows us. In the late 1990s, psychologist Roy Baumeister ran what has become one of the most famous experiments on willpower. Participants were seated in a room with 2 plates of food. One was piled high with warm, fresh-baked cookies, and the other was plain radishes. Half the participants were instructed to eat only the radishes and resist the cookies. The other half could eat whatever they liked. Afterward, both groups were asked to solve a puzzle, and what they didn't know was that the puzzle was impossible to finish. The real test was how long they would persist on that impossible puzzle before giving up. The results were striking. The radish-only group, still fighting back cookie cravings, quit at about 8 minutes. The group that could eat anything and the control group both lasted on average 19 minutes, more than twice as long. The conclusion seemed obvious. Those who used willpower to fight cookie cravings had less left for the impossible puzzle. Therefore, willpower clearly gets depleted when it's used. Baumeister described willpower as a muscle, one that weakens with fatigue. And that insight spread. Many misused it. People turned it into an excuse at the end of a hard day, my willpower is depleted, so I can't help but give in to these cookie cravings. Later research clarified something crucial, however. The people in the radish study didn't care about the experimenters' goals. They didn't care about the puzzle. So why would they dig deep to exercise willpower? When willpower was studied on people with goals that they valued, the results varied. They found that what matters most for people's willpower is actually how committed someone is to their goal and how much belief they have in their capacity to reach that goal. People who are very committed and believe they can succeed will fight harder for their goals, regardless of how depleted their willpower stores are. But Baumeister's deeper point still stands. If willpower is like a muscle, and it grows when it is trained, then we need to train it. There's no endurance athlete who's like, fatigue exists, so I need a shorter race. No, they train their endurance because they know about fatigue. Likewise, knowing that willpower grows like a muscle means we have to intentionally train and develop it. And that's what you're doing when you show up in the cold shower and when you show up to train your body in physical exercise. These activities strengthen the willpower muscle. And we need the willpower muscle because action changes everything. Starting alters your posture, your energy, your mindset. Action changes your physiology. You've probably had experiences where you realize this. You think you're exhausted, you're dragging, you're low on energy, you're probably even telling yourself how tired you are, and then that makes you more tired because it's that self-fulfilling prophecy. And then something wild happens. Some shocking news or surprise visitor shows up and suddenly you feel completely different. You're alert, alive, focused. Your energy tank wasn't really at zero, you were just kind of in a low energy state. The thing is, you can't wait for life to kick you into the right state. You'll never get anywhere if you're always waiting for that. You have to do it yourself. Motivation is not something you catch, it is something you do. The best way to shift how you feel is to act. Begin to move with energy and you will feel more energy. Act with vigor and you will feel more vigor. Speak with conviction and strength and you will feel conviction and strength. Hear this clearly because it may be the most important thing you can ever learn for success. Your psychology follows your physiology. Your emotions follow your body. Motivation is not something that you catch, it is something you do every single day by acting, by having the right habits, and by following through, by doing the work. You don't need pump-up music, you don't need an energy drink, you don't need anything other than just to act. Just start moving and you will feel different. Set goals, make a realistic plan to achieve them, and then don't be surprised when you don't feel like doing the work when it comes time. Start anyway. Do what you said you would do. Give yourself no outs. That's the lesson today. That's really it. Action changes everything. Knowing that, it is empowering. So train your will. Train your resolve. Do the hard thing. Stop having a conversation with the voice in your head, because that voice is not you. You are what you do. And at any moment, you can act differently and set a new trajectory for the day. That's the challenge this week. I want you to keep your new habits and start to watch and take note of the conversation you have when your inner wimp starts trying to excuse you from doing the thing you plan to do. This may be the urge to procrastinate rather than do homework, the desire to skip a workout. Most certainly it's going to be the desire not to get into the cold shower. Just witness those thoughts. Recognizing them alone for what they are gives you a new power over them. Watch the inner wimp try to put up a defense and then act anyway. That wraps up this week's lesson. Now's where the real progress happens. Jump into those discussion questions and crush those challenges. Good luck to you and carry the fire.